Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. We are in the midst of the negotiations on the public procurement files, and there couldn't be a better timing for holding this conference to talk about issues which still have to be agreed upon. Since the publication of the Commission's proposals in December last year, we had, and my colleagues are sitting here, some of them had about 23 full-day meetings in the Council working groups. Our ministers have met twice. And at the same time, the European Parliament has tabled around 1,593 amendments for the General Procurement Directive only. Why do I mention these numbers? First of all, we as the legislator, the European Parliament and the Council, is taking its role serious. And secondly, it shows that there are a number and very many very technical and political issues to solve. And I can assure you we have already done a major rewriting of the proposal by the Commission. Some of you might have seen already a draft compromise proposal from the summer, but work is still ongoing. I won't mention today all the details. I have only 10 minutes, and I don't want to stress your patience, but I will go to some of the major issues we have in the negotiations. I will mention all the three instruments which Pierre Dessau from the Commission also mentioned. First of all, the Concessions Directive. Very briefly, we support the Commission in proposing this instrument and providing for more legal clarity, for more competition on the market of concessions as there is on the market of procurement. However, we have to make sure that the rules won't go too much into the detail, so that public procurement will be ineffective and doesn't take into consideration the specificities of concessions. So we favor a light touch regime. Pierre Dessau has mentioned the EP going in this direction as well. A light touch regime ensuring for transparency, non-discrimination, and the application of the Legal Remedies Directive. As regards the General Procurement Directive, I like to mention 6 points which are of major interest now. I could mention many more. Sally has mentioned some of the positive ones, which I won't repeat. I will go to some more seen more critical by ourselves. First of all, governance. The Commission proposed a national oversight body and many different tasks to be done by this oversight body. Even if we have now already reduced this national oversight body to only some tasks we're talking about, so there's no more any structure, we still have to consider which tasks at the national level should be prescribed at the European level. By now, the transposition of European law, and especially procurement law, has been left to the national level. There's been a division of the rules at European level and the administrative procedures at European level. And there are good reasons for that, not only to mention subsidiarity, but also to take into account the different specificities of administrative procedures. You can't introduce different tasks at European level which don't fit to the different national systems. So these tasks have to be looked into very carefully. I'd like to mention 2 of them which prove to our understanding that this approach can be difficult. First of all, Commission wants to report on the success rate of SMEs. This is very important, success rate of SMEs in procurement. Of course, we for example, do appreciate very much the idea of division into lots. But how do you report on the success rate of SMEs? We have the TED, the Tenders Electronic Daily, so far, but this doesn't include any information on SMEs. So this system would have to be changed completely to have this information. Secondly, Commission proposes a new information complaint of third parties that are not at all involved in the procurement process. This is understandable, but such an approach would establish a parallel structure to the existing review procedures and would threaten the role of the Commission, who is the guardian of the treaties, and would try to give this role to the member states, so we would have different interpretations of the treaties. Second thing I want to mention is statistical reporting. This might sound very technical, but it brings with it lots of administrative burden to the procuring entities. So what do we propose? The Commission so far had a European system that tenders at electronic daily and wanted us to make a cross-checking at national level. We want this to be unified to one good tenders electronic daily, and of course these numbers seem not to be accurate at the moment, so we have to introduce carrots and sticks to make this process better. Third, Sally has mentioned this from the UK, the division between A and B services. We believe that this should remain as it is. There were good reasons not to include B services. There is no cross-border, no evidence of cross-border dimension of these services, and this hasn't changed so far. Fourth, the award criteria has been mentioned 2 panels ago. Lots of speak about the meat criteria. We do support this. However, the current proposal of the Commission has the meat criteria on the one hand and the low cost on the other hand. This seems to be very complicated. We can include the low cost criteria into the meat criteria. Fifth, the toolbox approach, which is a good thing, but on the other hand, we have to make sure that the single market won't be fragmented, so that especially the negotiation procedure, which is by now not mandatory to transpose in all member states, should have to be transposed in all member states in our view. Sixth, and the last point I'd like to mention are the provisions on the social, labor and environmental standards and towards third countries. I'm not speaking about the strategic use, but about compliance with legal standards. If you look into the provisions, Article 54, and to a certain extent 69, we see that these should apply not only to the legally binding standards, but also to standards which are not legally binding. This, in our perception, is aimed mostly at tenders and bidders from third countries and leaves ample room for protectionist uses. If a bidder from China or the United States is not obliged to comply with European Union standards, for example, working hours, this bidder should not be excluded or his tender rejected because he does not comply with these standards in an at least equivalent manner. This remark leads me to the third proposal, which Pierre Dessau also mentioned, the International Procurement Instrument, which is on the table as well and being negotiated parallel to the procurement directives. I don't want to go into the details why we reject this, or we don't think this proposal is very helpful from a trade perspective. Pierre Dessau has mentioned this trade perspective that he thinks is not protectionist. We think that in practice, open markets, which probably are not legally open but practically open, could be closed down. But I am here with procurement experts, so I'd rather stress the procurement problematic of this file. You know probably that this file has 2 pillars, one which allows public authorities to exclude certain bidders from third countries who are not open to our markets. And the second pillar would be a decision by the European Commission that all procurement authorities in Europe would have to not consider tenders from a certain third country. So how does this work? You have to know where a tender comes from. And this is not just somebody coming from China and sending a letter, I want to comply with the tender. Of course, they would have some subsidiarity, some company in Europe. So what we have to find is a material standard, and the Commission proposed the rules of origin. And I just mentioned this because you probably can put yourself in the place of a contracting authority. You would have to check for each company which poses a bid the rules of the origin of the whole bid. And the company itself has to do it. I don't know if you have ever read or seen the rules of origin, but I can assure you there are customs experts who do this, and I don't think we want to employ customs experts in all our 30,000 procurement authorities in Germany. Let me stop after this slightly critical note with a compliment to the European Commission. As Sally has said, we rightly do believe so as well, that the Commission has done a very good job. They presented a very good proposal, which is a good and balanced starting point for the discussions we are doing. Otherwise, it would never have been possible to discuss this very comprehensive proposal in nearly 1 year, or let's say maybe will be 1.5 years to be more realistic. Thank you very much.